The world, as we know it, is no stranger to conflict. Throughout history, nations have risen and fallen, borders have shifted like sand in the desert, and the drums of war have echoed across continents. It's a delicate balance, one that teeters precariously between periods of relative peace and times of outright aggression. But how do we even begin to measure something as complex as a nation's military aggressiveness? Well, it's a combination of factors, a tapestry woven from threads of history, international relations, and, unfortunately, often bloodshed. In this exploration of military might, we'll delve into the factors that contribute to a nation's place on the global stage, considering their frequency of participation in wars, their international influence, and perhaps most importantly, their global acceptance. These are the stories of the top 5 most militarily aggressive countries in the world. From the plains of Europe to the jungles of Southeast Asia, the deserts of the Middle East, the United States has left its military footprint across the globe. Born from revolution, forged in the fires of civil war, the U.S. has long held a prominent position on the world stage. But with great power comes, well, you know the saying. The U.S. boasts the most powerful military in the world, a technological marvel with a global reach that's virtually unmatched. Its military interventions from Vietnam to Iraq and Afghanistan have shaped the geopolitical landscape and sparked endless debates about interventionism versus isolationism. Beyond military might, the U.S. wields immense international influence through its economic dominance, cultural exports, and diplomatic relations. The dollar reigns supreme as the world's reserve currency, and Hollywood movies captivate audiences from Rio to Reykjavik. Yet this influence is not without its detractors. The U.S. has faced criticism for its perceived unilateralism, its history of intervention in the affairs of other nations, and its unwavering support for allies with questionable human rights records. Its global acceptance, while still significant, wanes in the shadow of its military actions. From the frozen expanse of Siberia to the bustling streets of Moscow, Russia, a nation steeped in history and ambition, has long been a force to be reckoned with. The legacy of the Tsars, the rise and fall of the Soviet Union, and the re-emergence of Russia as a major power under Vladimir Putin have all left indelible marks on the world stage. In recent years, Russia has flexed its military muscle in no uncertain terms. The annexation of Crimea, its support for separatists in eastern Ukraine, and its intervention in the Syrian civil war have sent shockwaves through the international community. These actions, coupled with its vast nuclear arsenal, have placed Russia firmly back in the spotlight of global concern. Beyond its military actions, Russia exerts its influence through a combination of shrewd diplomacy, economic leverage, particularly in the energy sector, and a sophisticated propaganda machine. Its relationships with nations like China, Iran, and Venezuela demonstrate a willingness to challenge the existing world order. However, Russia's actions have come at a price. International sanctions, condemnation from Western powers, and a growing sense of mistrust have strained its relationships with the West. Its global acceptance, particularly among democracies, has waned in the face of its assertive foreign policy. From the bustling megacities of its coast to the vast plains of its interior, China, a civilization with millennia of history, is undergoing a transformation unlike any the world has ever seen. Its economic rise has been nothing short of meteoric, lifting millions out of poverty and propelling it to the forefront of the global economy. But with this newfound wealth and influence comes a growing military might. China's military spending has skyrocketed in recent years as it modernizes its armed forces and develops advanced weaponry. Its growing navy in particular has raised eyebrows, particularly in the context of territorial disputes in the South China Sea. China's assertiveness extends beyond its military buildup. Its Belt and Road Initiative, a massive infrastructure project spanning continents, has expanded its economic and political influence across Asia, Africa, and beyond. Its growing diplomatic network and its willingness to challenge the United States on the world stage are further signs of its ambitions. However, China's rise has not been without its challenges. Its human rights record, its crackdown on dissent in Hong Kong, and its treatment of Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang province have drawn international condemnation. Its global acceptance remains a mixed bag, with many nations wary of its growing power and influence. Shrouded in secrecy and ruled by an iron fist, North Korea stands as a stark reminder of the Cold War's enduring legacy. Isolated, impoverished, and defiant, it has consistently captured the world's attention with its nuclear ambitions and unpredictable behavior. Despite its small size and struggling economy, North Korea has poured vast resources into developing its military, including nuclear weapons and long-range missiles. Its frequent missile tests and bellicose rhetoric, often directed at the United States and its allies South Korea and Japan, have kept tensions on the Korean peninsula perpetually high. The Kim dynasty, which has ruled North Korea since its inception, maintains an iron grip on power, suppressing dissent and perpetuating a cult of personality around its leaders. Its isolationist policies have kept its people cut off from the outside world, limiting their access to information and opportunities. North Korea's actions have made it a pariah state, subject to numerous international sanctions and widespread condemnation. Its nuclear program poses a serious threat to regional and global security, and its human rights record remains abysmal. Its global acceptance is virtually non-existent. Since the turbulent days of its founding in 1948, Israel has charted a unique and often controversial course on the world stage. A regional power with a rich history and a proud people, it has found itself at odds with many of its neighbors, embroiled in regional conflicts, and subject to international scrutiny. Israel's military prowess lies in its advanced technology and highly trained forces. Its support for settlements in disputed territories and military operations in Gaza and the West Bank allows it to project power and influence beyond its borders, often at a significant cost and with international criticism. Its missile defense systems, while ostensibly defensive in nature, have raised concerns among its neighbors and the international community about its potential to deliver conventional or even nuclear warheads. Israel's policy of nuclear ambiguity has been a source of contention for decades, leading to rounds of diplomatic efforts to address its nuclear capabilities. Israel's actions in the region, its opposition to the Assad regime in Syria, its rivalry with Iran, and its involvement in the conflict in Gaza have made it a key player in the volatile Middle East. Its global acceptance varies, with strong support from Western nations, but criticism due to its military actions and human rights record, and its support for policies deemed controversial by many countries. From the towering skyscrapers of New York City to the ancient walls of Jerusalem, the world is interconnected in ways we often fail to fully grasp. The actions of one nation, particularly those with significant military might, reverberate across the globe, shaping the destinies of millions. Understanding the dynamics of these global military powers, their motivations, their ambitions, and their rivalries, is crucial if we are to navigate the complex realities of the 21st century. It's a world where the specter of conflict always looms large, where the quest for power and influence often comes at a terrible human cost. As we've journeyed through this list, we've seen how military aggression manifests itself in different ways, from full-scale invasions to proxy wars, from nuclear brinkmanship to economic coercion. The consequences of such actions are always profound, leaving scars on individuals, nations, and the very soul of humanity. It's a sobering reminder that the pursuit of peace must be a constant endeavor, a commitment to dialogue, diplomacy, and understanding.